You know what time it is? It's time to go to Quinnesota.
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
Hey, this is Marcus Foligno, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to this special Locked On crossover episode between Locked On Canucks and Locked On Wild. I'm Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, sports reporter for Daily High Vancouver, joined as always by my co-host, Kyle Bhawan. And most importantly, on the YouTube side, you're looking at the Seth sandwich, where we got Seth Toupal on from Locked On Wild, certified beauty, certified credentialed media member, and also Quinn Hughes' #1 fan. Seth, Kyle, I'm going to ignore you for a second. Seth, how you doing today, buddy?
Fellas, we've prayed for days like this. Having covered this team, I have covered this team for now. This is season number 5. We have been waiting for the big swing. We've been waiting for the big fish. We've been waiting for pulling the whale into the boat. And now here we stand on the brink of greatness. By the way, shout out to the Richmond Flying Mummies.
Okay, cool.
You got to have a good hat to rep. If you have no hair on top of your head like I do not, you got to have a good hat to rep. The Richmond Flying Mummies is the way to go.
Wow.
I could not be more excited to be on with you two and to be diving into Quinnesota.
The diving into the biggest trade in both our franchises' history, and a couple connecting points there. First time for me meeting Seth, and he's bringing up the Richmond Mummies. Is that what you said?
The Flying Mummies.
Oh, the Flying Mummies. I'm actually recording this like 5 minutes from a city called Richmond, and I'm also balding. So there you go. Like, look at all the connections. We're practically family. And you said the Minnesota Wild have been waiting years and years and decades to take a big swing. I'm pretty sure the Canucks were waiting decades and decades to land Marco Rossi, okay? So why don't we just get right into it? Trevor, I know you want to we got to do it. We got to do it. Can you please gas up? Let's actually start with Marco Rossi. All three of the guys that we just got, but just give us some free therapy, Seth. How good do you think Marco Rossi could be?
I think Marco Rossi stands to be an extremely solid top 6 center that is capable of playing both. He's played top line center for the Minnesota Wild over the last couple of years. He is an automatic 20-goal, 60-point center, which you think about how hard it is to find those types of players. He's a bulldog. He's an absolute pit bull. Don't let his small stature fool you. He will take you out behind the shed and give you the business if he needs to. This was the one, probably that I am going to miss the most is Marco Rossi. And, from having some major complications from myocarditis back during the COVID days to where he missed a full season because of that heart ailment. He's worked his way all the way back. He is a tank. And you're going to get a guy that battles in front of the net. You're going to get a guy that is aggressive, that is physical. This is a massive get for Canucks fans to bring a guy like this in and to be able to now work him in. You talk about Elias Pettersson being probably the top center at this point for this Canucks team. You're going to be super comfortable playing him at the number 2C. And if Pettersson's out of the lineup, Rossi can slot in on the top line easy. He's a top 6. He's a top 6 guy. He's not a top 6 guy at a place. He's a bona fide top 6 center, a rare find, and I think that was a great get for the Canucks.
Yeah, and clearly a guy that they've been interested for some time, right? We all have heard about the deal that potentially fell apart of the draft with the first overall pick, which ended up being Braden Coots, Atu Ratu, and Arturs Shilovs. But yeah, with Marco Rossi, again, look, the Canucks have been so desperate for a center. We all know that. And look, I brought up the player card here quick, but this is a guy without a lot of holes in his game, Seth, and the numbers kind of back that up. But I wanted to ask you, as a guy who's been watching Marco Rossi every day, like, are there flaws or holes in his game? And I guess the flip side to that is, what is the peak for this player?
I think the biggest spot I would say for Rossi is growth offensively. I wouldn't call it a weakness in his game because he's very good. He's a very good net front guy. He gobbles up rebounds. He's very capable at scoring from that part of the zone. Beyond that kind of immediate net front area, he has started to add that to his game, but it's still a work in progress. So as he continues to get more comfortable and becomes a guy that can maybe, just dominate the faceoff circles and in, that's where you're going to see him go to a 30 goal scorer, a 35 goal scorer. He's very capable on both ends of the ice while still at 24 years old, still kind of growing into where he's at as a player. So I'd say the offense is going to continue to develop. As far as the defensive side goes, he is capable of holding his own defensively. I wouldn't say shutdown D is his specialty, but he's very capable of playing defensively too. So you're getting a very well-rounded 200-foot type player that if he just continues to kind of hone his offensive side, you're looking at a 30-goal guy that can give you 60, 70 points.
Whoa, that's exciting, because again, everyone knows on this program, I'm just a Canucks fan. I'm not like the big NHL guy. Just read too many books and walk my dog too much, and just spending too much time with other stuff that doesn't matter. And I wasn't getting the whole hype on Marco Rossi, but again, now we're hearing you talk about him. Trevor's been high on him too the whole time, and even NHL pundits right after the trade. I think a big reason why they thought the Canucks got a haul was obviously because of Buium. But no, people love Marco Rossi, and man, like you seem to love him too. And my last question on him, and I'm actually glad we're spending more time on him because I feel like we've just been talking about Buium here on the show. Like when he was missing from your lineup, like was it like obviously noticeable that like the team just played different? Like is he one of those players that you miss when he's not playing?
Yes, and I think there is one reason that it maybe wasn't felt as much this year. Was because of the emergence of Danila Yurov on the Wild side. And honestly, that is, I think, the single reason that the Minnesota Wild were willing to make this trade was the developments that Yurov has made playing in a top 6 role with Marco Rossi out of the lineup. I think the other spot that Rossi gets dinged is that he's not really a driver of offense himself, but you put capable wings, and let's be honest, that he's not the only player that has that moniker. You put good, capable offensive players on either side of him, and he's going to feast. He's going to feast on rebounds, on just great setups from his wings. So if you slot in a couple of guys that are more defensive grinders, yeah, the scoring's probably not going to be there. But every center, pretty much, that you would put in that same situation, it'd be the same story. So he's a guy that was just a fixture, especially last year, the year before that, a fixture in the lineup. But the fact that Danila Yurov started to really come into his own was, I think, the reason that Bill Guerin finally got confident enough to pull the trigger on this.
Yeah, I mean, fascinating player. When you say things like he's not a driver of offense himself and he needs the wingers and he's going to feast, then the only problem is Vancouver doesn't necessarily have those wingers. That's the problem, Seth. But again, we're in the McKenna sweepstakes this year. I want to table Öhgren to the end of the show. Interesting player, but let's touch quickly on Zayne Buium. First off, the pronunciation. What's the correct pronunciation on Zayne Buium?
Buium.
It is Buium. I wasn't sure if that was someone trying to mess with me or not, but you mentioned earlier on in the show that you were, or maybe before we hopped on, that you were surprised that the Wild were willing to give a Buium in this deal. Maybe talk about what you've seen from Buium in his time in Minnesota and what you think the peak is for Buium as an NHL player.
The peak for Zeev is Quinn Hughes. That's the peak. And so it's fascinating to break this trade down because that's why I got roasted for it on social media, because I think a lot of people just misunderstood what I was saying. I was surprised that the Wild were willing to move Zeev at this point in his career. I'm not surprised that he had to be thrown in to get a guy like Quinn Hughes. You've got to give up good players in order to get good players. So I'm not surprised by that at all. But Zeev is a guy, offensively, he is a plus puck mover, puck handler. He is a great skater. He has made, even in the early start to his career, he's made so many defenders look foolish, just flat out stupid, trying to defend him. So he brings some great offensive elements. The defense is something that he is going to work on as he gets more comfortable. But if his offense continues to rise as people expect that it will, he's a guy that could be Quinn Hughes a few years down the line. The problem with this was that Bill Guerin wanted Quinn Hughes right now because you've got Kirill Kaprizov. Your contention window, as we now know, is wide open. He wanted Quinn Hughes right now. He said, I don't want to heat this up in the microwave and have it turn into Quinn Hughes. I want the immediately cooked version to throw on the dinner table. So if Zeev continues to progress, he's wise beyond his years too. Like you listen to him answer questions and he sounds like a guy much like Brock Faber that's been in the league for like 10 years. So he's polished, he's poised. He is going to be, as much as I just revved up Marco Rossi, he's the centerpiece of this. And if you are worried about Quinn Hughes leaving and having to try to replace that, Zeev stands a pretty good chance to turn into at least some version of Quinn Hughes once he gets more comfortable in the league.
And obviously learns more and get. I think Quinn would admit this too. Like he had like Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote to some extent like help level up his game, and just Zeev's ability to adapt and just get better will help him get to a point where he actually becomes like a top 10 D-man. I think for Canucks fans, like watching so much Quinn Hughes hockey, it's like it's impossible for anyone to be that good. And we'll talk more about Quinn on the other side. But to end off the first segment, I just want to, again, I want to feel good about everything happening with the Canucks right now. When you woke up the day after the Quinn trade, like, did you miss Zeev a little bit at all? Because like when I woke up the next day, I felt like I broke up with a girlfriend or something. Like I was like, oh damn, I can't even text this person anymore. It was actually like a missing piece of my heart. When you woke up as a big Minnesota Wild fan, obviously you've always wanted the number one defenseman, and I'm sure you probably thought either like Faber is going to be that guy or Zeev after seeing what he's done as a teenager this year. So when you woke up the next day after the trade, did you feel like maybe you're not as emotional and immature as me, but like, did you feel like you were missing something the next morning?
The Wolverine meme where he's laying on the bed with the photo? That was me with Rossi and Zeev especially. Liam Öhgren was on the other side of the frame, but he's still in the picture. But then as I was scrolling through my phone when I first woke up, the moment I started to see the Minnesota stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, we're back. We're gonna reel this in. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna have a great Saturday, and we're gonna expect that Quinn will score at least one goal in his debut, which it turns out he did.
Thanks.
So yeah, it was. Those guys are gonna be great. I look forward to seeing how they develop wearing Vancouver Canuck blue. So I look forward to seeing how that is. But I have set my sights. Locked On Wild has set their sights on the Quinn Hughes tenure and turning this Wild team into an absolute wagon.
Yeah, they look like a wagon right now, and let's get to that in the betting odds as we shout out a sponsor. We'll be back on the other side to hear more about Seth's thoughts on the Quinn trade and the vibe right now in Minnesota. That's coming up next here on the crossover of Locked On Canucks and Locked On Wild. All right, before we get back to the program, baby, let's shout out our friends over at FanDuel. And Canuck fans, you know the deal. When we looked at the FanDuel Stanley Cup odds, Vancouver all the way at the bottom, baby. Let's go for that number one pick for the first time ever. But as Seth knows, getting a number one overall pick isn't just as easy as being bad. It's something that has escaped both our franchises for a long, long time. But speaking of those Minnesota Wild, where are they on the Stanley Cup rankings? They are 10th overall at odds of plus 2,700 to bring home their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. They're officially in the dark horse conversation. Seth, are you smashing those odds, or do you back off on the wild bets?
Hammering those odds. I am going all red for the Minnesota Wild to hop into the Stanley Cup chase. It's our time. Why not us? Why not Minnesota?
There you go, Kyle. We might, if the Green Bay Packers don't host the Seattle Seahawks in a playoff game, we might have to save our dollars to go meet Seth and watch Quinn Hughes in the Stanley Cup Finals in Minnesota. Just kidding. I think Kyle's going to be too sad for that. But if you're placing bets, again, go make sure you check out FanDuel, NFL, NHL, all that good stuff. Visit FanDuel.com to place your live bets and go check out the the FanDuel app today. Oh, yeah, baby. And let's shout out our friends over at Doer. You know what we say, Seth? We say do the Doer, baby, okay? Because Doer, they make the world's most comfortable pants. They make it sexy and they make you feel comfortable. And for the holiday season here, I'm treating myself, and I might even think about treating other people in my life so that they can feel good and look sexy. Boom, bam, all of the above. And if you just think I'm talking out my rear end here, let me tell you, these are the world's most comfortable pants. The Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. You can find them actually all across North America, but you can also check out Doer if you're here in Vancouver at 1757 West 4th Avenue. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONCanucks in store for 15% off your first order. You can also go to doer.ca/LockedOnCanucks for 15% off as well. That's DUER.ca/LockedOnCanucks.
Okay, we back doing this, talking to the people. Yes, you about the Minnesota Wild. Oh no, the Quinnesota Wild and the Vancouver Canucks. Shout out to Seth. Go shout out to Locked On Wild as well. Go check them out. And I'm sure a lot of Canucks fans will be doing so because, unlike me, who is like, again, super emotional, can't afford therapy, is super petty. There is still like some anger and some resentment towards Quinn Hughes because man, oh man, it hurts to lose who I compare only to like the likes of Cale Makar, Bobby Orr, and for the Minnesota Wild fans listening, Seth, to some extent, I feel like you guys got a different version of Connor McDavid too. Like that's how good Quinn Hughes is. And I did want to I know we have to talk about Liam Öhgren, and maybe we'll bump into like the very end of the show, save the best for last. But I want to give your fans something. And again, our fans have heard me, complain about Quinn for the last couple of days. But again, I do want to take the time to just tell you and remind you and give you a bit of a tease. Like you got literally in my 23 years, when did Minnesota and Vancouver play in the playoffs? Like 2003?
2003, 22 years ago.
Okay, 22 years. In my 23 years of watching hockey, like Quinn Hughes is probably the 3rd or 4th most talented player I've ever seen play. Like just a hack on the ice, always has the puck. Whenever he's on the ice, you're in the offensive zone. And it's because of Quinn Hughes. So I know you're excited. And even though I'm jealous, I'm happy that he is going to a city or, the state of hockey. Like that's passion. Minnesota loves its sports and it loves hockey. And I'm happy you guys got him.
Honestly, I still have to kind of remind myself that it is a trade that actually happened, but I'm glad you started that route, Kyle, because this is obviously a trade that doesn't just happen. Like there's been a lot that has gone on with this trade. There's been a lot behind the scenes. This is something that a lot of Canucks fans didn't want to see happen. But at the end of the day, it speaks to the unfortunate side of this. As much as we love to just root for these players and cheer for these players and give everything that we have on the line for these players, at some point there just comes a time where, whether it be them, whether it be team circumstances, whatever it may be, at some point we hope something like this doesn't happen. So, I don't mean to have you guys cut open a vein once again, but just talk me through the buildup to kind of how things got to this point, because couple seasons ago, Vancouver was just this absolute wagon with Thatcher Demko. You had JT Miller, you had Elias Pettersson, just hawking goals every night. And now it seems like the other shoe has hit. Minnesota fans are very familiar with that, by the way. It just seems like the other shoe has hit. So how are you guys doing? How are you guys holding up on this other side of things?
Oh, it's tough. I mean, Seth, the episode that I did the day of the trade this is one of the darkest days in Canucks history. And I wasn't the only person to say that. Like, when I think about dark times and this 55 years of mostly failure in Vancouver, it's, the Game 7 loss in 2011. It's Mark Messier becoming a Vancouver Canuck. And it's the Quinn Hughes trade.
Trevor, it's also losing Game 7 to the Minnesota Wild after being up 3-1 in 2003. It's that one, too.
Well, Kyle, I'll ask you, which is darker, the Quinn Hughes trade or losing Game 7 in Minnesota?
The Quinn Hughes trade.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You
exactly.
know what? We might have actually won the Cup that year if we beat Minnesota in 2003. Who did we lose to? Manny Fernandez and Dwayne Rolison? I think so.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we beat the Ducks and J.S. Jaguar. Who knows? But yeah, Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a big downfall for the Canucks, Seth. I mean, this market knows it very well. I think we know by now it really did start with, choosing JT Miller over Bo Horvat. You could see the logic at the time, but clearly with the strained relationship between him and Pettersson, Quinn Hughes having to be the captain through that, I don't think he was mentally prepared or ready for it. That choice seemingly was the downfall of this core and this organization. You had a guy in Bo Horvat who, despite some people in the market not liking him or saying he was a country club guy, there was a guy who wanted to be a Canuck. There was a guy that bled blue and green. They chose JT Miller. He fights with Pettersson. Then all of a sudden the team starts blowing up, and it was all really downhill from there. So what looked like a sign of good things to come after 23-24 ended up really being a flash in the pan. And look, I see this comment here from James Moore. Shout out to the Everydayers here on Locked On Canucks, the #1 sports podcast network in the world, by the way. James Moore says, enjoy Quinn the player, but some advice. Don't put a C on him. He's not an alpha or a character guy. Just let him cook. And I think there's some truth to what James is saying. I think Quinn Hughes, you could see it on his face, having to talk to assholes like me on a daily basis in the dressing room. It was wearing on the guy. I think he does do better in an environment where he could just go out and play hockey. And not to say that he doesn't know how to talk, right? You saw it in his media avail in Minnesota. I think he was very articulate, very honest there. But I think this is a guy that just does best when he's another guy on the team instead of the guy that has to go out after every game when the times aren't so good.
Yeah, and the Wild have Jared Spurgeon in that captain's role, so that's taken care of. I'm not sure if he will wear an A or not. I would guess probably not. Like you said, I think they just kind of want him to be a force offensively for this team and to just let him handle the offense. And honestly, guys, final one that I have for you before we flip it back, and we got to talk about Öhgren a little bit. I was of the mind, you've got Kirill Kaprizov, you've got Matt Boldy. I said you need a third. You need a third. But the hierarchy, at least in my mind now, is Quinn Hughes, Kirill Kaprizov, and Matt Boldy. Like, that's the type of impact that Quinn Hughes can have on this team. And so turns out another superstar does not need to be on the offensive side. Defense can do that too.
Yeah, and defense wins championships, and Quinn is a really good defender, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like even take it back to the 2024 playoffs when the Canucks made it to the second round, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, second round against the Oilers, 8th best accomplishment in Canucks team history. Quinn wasn't dominant offensively, and I think some people look at that and they're like, oh, he's not a playoff player. But I can't remember a time where he was bad defensively. Like, he was good. He was solid the whole way through, and I'm not a fancy stats metrics type of guy, but you look at the stats from that playoff run and the defensive stats, and he was awesome because he is, again, like, there's a reason why I compared him to Connor McDavid, and it wasn't just because of the offense. I'm just trying to let Wild fans know, like, he is uber dominant. And you brought up Kirill Kaprizov. We talked a lot about Kirill last summer, just because, like, we're hyping up, like, oh, who could be available 14 months from now, all that BS, right? And it was every single player in the league that was a free agent next year within the next 2 years. And Kirill was one of those guys. And I love watching Kirill Kaprizov play. He's one of those guys to me, too. Anytime he's on the ice, it's just like, which way the play is going. And now you have two of those guys. And, we keep talking about 2003. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like back in the day, you guys had Marian Gaborik and Willie Mitchell. Well, now you have Kirill Kaprizov and Quinn Hughes. Like, that's as Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar as it gets. And I know that's going to work for you guys. Like, I know in the playoffs, you can say what you want about Quinn being small and Kirill not being I don't even know his playoff numbers. I'm assuming they're great, but just at the end of the day, those two, if they play 25 to 30 minutes a game in a 7-game series, game in and game out, I'm just saying there's a chance. There's a chance you guys can win, because I know Colorado had a deeper team a couple of years ago when they won the Cup, but when you have two, like, those guys are unbelievable. Like, it's going to surprise our fans to hear me say this, because I've been complaining so much and have, again, been so angry. I need therapy, but that's going to be must-watch TV. Like, Quinn and Kirill, that's like Dwayne Wade and LeBron, like that's it. That's like Henrik and Daniel. I'm sorry. That's going to piss some Canucks fans off, but their chemistry, and Quinn even said at the press conference, like, give it 5 or 6 games and y'all will get it. And it's going to be good for the NHL. And I think we haven't talked about that once throughout this whole ordeal. Like, at least he went to, again, the state of hockey, and at least he's going to play with another top 10 player in the whole league. Like, that's fun. That's good for the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I would tend to agree. And it's nice for it to be a market that isn't like, imagine if he had gone to like the New York Rangers or something, and you're just like, oh,
yeah.
again, or Chicago or something.
Yeah.
No, we don't stand Chicago here. Maybe I'm going to have to call this Minnesota.
Oh, there we go.
Somebody stop me. I'm in my bag.
Ripping out the dad jokes here. Let's just call it Quinneshoda. There we go.
That's the one.
Oh, man. Speaking of the show, let's wrap up into the side of this fantastic crossover between Locked On Canucks and Locked On Wild. Man, oh man, if the therapy bills get too big for Kyle and I, we might have to quit Locked On. And there's a job opening here on Locked On Canucks, because Canucks sadness gets to us. You got to check out Indeed, okay? Whether you're looking for work or whether you're hiring. Oh, my voice just went higher too. Indeed is all you need, baby. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites, because Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. And man, oh man, with old work, I've been in that spot where you need to hire someone right away. And Indeed's the place you got to go, okay? Because Indeed Sponsored Jobs, they come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. You can tell how excited I get about Indeed, because as a man in his 30s, my voice still cracks. That only happens when I talk about Indeed. You can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit on Indeed. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our shows by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need.
Okay, we back doing this, talking about the Wild, the Canucks, the trade. One left to Seth, one left to Beggs. He the second best dad in the world. Said he was about to throw his kid off a merry-go-round after he heard the news of the Quinn Hughes trade. Child services, I know where he lives. I'll let you know his address for $50. I hit the like button because I do need that $50 for real. Christmas is coming up. Still haven't bought my girlfriend a gift. And, just, again, do the math. Speaking of the math, let's read some comments. Oh, man. Look at Aaron Phillips saying, and I know Trevor would have more notes on this. Aaron saying, tell us that Liam Öhgren is the salt to Lekkerimäki's pepper. Trevor, what's he alluding to here?
Well, I mean, Öhgren and Lekkerimäki were, teammates and successful teammates, in Sweden back when they were in junior and at the World Juniors as well. But Seth, the one thing that I really want to pick your brain about with Liam Öhgren is, I guess, what's happened with his development over the past couple of seasons. Look, Kyle and I, when we watch this guy and, even watching this guy maybe before the trade, I'll even kind of backtrack a little further. I was talking with this guy, even could the Canucks get Öhgren out of Minnesota, even like a Sherwood deal and some kind of package there? I didn't think it'd be in the Quinn Hughes deal, but I had a feeling that the Canucks have interest in this player. They wanted to draft him originally when they chose Lecker Mackey. So, I guess you could say I got a half-baked prediction right there. But, I'm reading some stuff about, other execs calling Öhgren a bust. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but just want to pick your brain on Liam Öhgren. What's happened with his development, and what do you see for Öhgren moving forward in his NHL career?
It is too early to call Liam Öhgren anything because he didn't really have a clear path in Minnesota. He didn't really have an opportunity to show what he has, I think. I know he had some top 6 opportunities, but they were mostly as injury fill-ins. He's got great size. I envision him being a guy that can be kind of that power forward, big body that is good at handling and maintaining the puck. The thing that I think, if it can improve, if it can come around, if his scoring comes around, I think he could be a 20-goal guy in the NHL. I think he really could if he gets the opportunity to kind of showcase what he has. That was the big thing, though, is it always seemed like we went the last couple of training camps and he would have a good camp. And, we got to the start of the season and he'd be down in Iowa, and he goes down to Iowa and he's killing it down there. But then he maybe gets an opportunity to come up and play a few games at the NHL level, and the results just don't translate. He just needs to be given an opportunity. I think he's going to absolutely get that in Vancouver. Give him an opportunity. Give him an opportunity to grow, to figure out kind of where he fits amongst other NHL players. And I think he could be a guy that turns into a solid middle 6 contributor on any team. But quite frankly, right now, I haven't seen enough to really be able to definitively say he's a bust or he's going to be the next coming of Wayne Gretzky. He's going to fall somewhere in between the two, depending on what sort of opportunity he gets in Vancouver.
Thanks. And I think for Canucks fans, I mean, we've been throwing around the name like Podkolzin, like that's maybe like where he's going to end up. And the Canucks gave up on a player like that a little too early to a division rival. And maybe they're trying to replace him with a guy like Öhgren. And Trevor, I don't know if you heard Michael Russo on Sick Harrison Price, like right after the trade. He did admit that the Canucks and Wild did talk about Öhgren for sure would trade, but the Canucks didn't want to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice to know that this half-baked guy is on to things once in a while.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we got to end off the show. I don't know if you want to do like an 18-minute synopsis on Öhgren, but I kind of want to just have fun here. Like, I'm assuming, again, you've been a Wild fan your whole life, Seth, like from the area, boom, bam.
Yeah, I haven't followed hockey a ton throughout my life just because I never played it. Spoiler alert, you got a guy covering hockey that never played hockey.
There you go. I played ball hockey.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was at the Canucks media skate the other day. I'll tell you right now, not all media formerly played hockey. That's for sure.
you got a lot of people that just have never laced up the skates, and when they see me, they're like, "You shouldn't, like you shouldn't be on skates." And I'm like, I don't blame you, but I've for the better part of probably the last, I don't know, since that Colorado series back in 2014, I've kind of been keeping an eye on the team, and now obviously doing this, we're fully in, both sleeves rolled up, fully into the mud, just trying to pulse this team to a Stanley Cup so that I can finally see one here in the state of Minnesota. Everybody tells me, well, what are you talking about? You were alive when the Minnesota Twins won the World Series. Yeah, I was 3 years old. That definitely counts.
Oh man, no, I only brought it up because I was like, oh, maybe we'll go down memory lane and talk about the 2003 playoff series when I was in grade 5, and That whole
Seth and I did that like a year or two ago, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
we did go down that road a little bit.
Okay, and you know what? Go check out that episode and go listen to it, and just go check out Locked On Wild. And again, I wanted to like go on a little ramble about that because I feel as if that was one of the first heartbreaks of my life. Like in year 1.5 or 2 of being a Canucks fan and being up 3-1 and having Bertuzzi lay out the golf swing in front of your bench and to lose that series. And yeah, no, seriously. And now looking back at it, just like I said a couple years ago when we lost to the Oilers, and look at where we are now, like those were cup or bust moments. Like the Canucks have, like outside of 2009 to 2012, they've never really been like top dogs, you know? So whenever you get to like those moments where you have a chance to eliminate a team in the second round, like we did against the Wild or the Oilers, like to me, they just, you just never, like you said, you were 3 years old when the Minnesota Twins won a World Series. It's like, you just won a championship so bad. And then I'm 32 and a half years old. I'm just like starting to think like, am I ever going to see one, Seth? Am I ever going to see one?
3-year-old me was like, geez, some part of my brain was like, is this just how it always is? Like you just win championships every couple of years. And that's just how we do it in Minnesota. And 37-year-old me would just like to talk to 3-year-old me and say, cheer for somebody else, please. But it's funny because I look back on the rosters that I've seen since I started in 2021, and the 2021-2022 season where they scored 300 plus goals and they just throttled people in 5-on-5. That felt like a good team, but they got to the playoffs. They didn't get it done. The next year, they didn't score as many goals, but they had great goaltending. Felt like a good team. They didn't get it done in the playoffs. Even this last year, they started off the season so good, and then the injuries caught up to them. They barely made the playoffs. Felt like a good team, and then they lost in the playoffs. This feels different. This feels different than all of those other opportunities, and I think Bill Guerin put most of his chips to the middle of the table with the Quinn Hughes trade, knowing that he's got to make this one count. So whatever the needs are, I still think the Wild could use a center to add to the mix, just to shore things up down the middle. Whatever the Wild need to make this a legitimate run, Billy's going to go do it.
Yeah, it's definitely win now mode for the Minnesota. Like, see, that was a Freudian slip. The Minnesota Wild, unbelievable, man.
We got him on board.
There we go. The Minnesota Quinnesota Wild, man. Look, I will say, Seth, there's a bitter Canuck fan part of me that wants the Wild to lose so we get a higher pick. But there's a bigger part of me that, like Kyle said, you guys are the state of hockey. Your fans care about hockey, and I am wishing you all the best with the Quinnesota Wild. Let's wrap up the crossover episode there. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bhawan. Most importantly, that guy was Seth Toupal. Make sure you go check out our shows on YouTube. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channels on the podcast side. Go follow the shows. Leave a 5-star review. It helps us out a lot. Quinnesota for the Cup. Vancouver for Gavin McKenna. And that's how it goes here. You've been listening to Locked On Canucks.